So I was about 13 or 14 when this happened. I'd been in a really dark place mentally, and I'd met this guy through Snapchat. He told me his name was John, and he thought I was really pretty. He used pictures of this super generic emo guy, and my tween heart was hooked. We'd talk for days and nights, and at one point I told him the town I lived in. Because my parents worked late, I'd get home from school and usually be by myself at home, and I'd sit in the living room, which had this big window facing the street. If you looked in, you could see people and the TV and stuff, and I always kept the curtains open for light. So about 2 weeks after John and I were talking, I'd noticed this white sedan driving slowly past my house, at least once a day, usually right after I got home from school. I also noticed that whenever I was watching something and texting John, he'd find a way to bring the show into the conversation. I didn't think much of it at first because usually it was shows I'd reblogged on my page before. That was until I started watching Pretty Little Liars on ABC Family. I hadn't posted or reblogged anything about the show, and then John started bringing it up, and I thought it was really weird. When I asked him about it, he said I just seemed like the type of girl who watched it, so I dropped the issue. Fast forward 2 weeks and I'm with some friends at a nearby park. I wasn't having a good day, so we decided to hang out and do photo shoots or whatever. So we're walking around and I turn my head and boom! There's that white sedan. Except it's closer and I can see the person in it. It's this older guy, maybe in his 20s, just watching us. I got really uncomfortable but didn't bring it up, and then my friend suggested we go to the playground, which is right next to the parking lot. But at this point, none of my friends knew about this issue, and I wanted to seem cool, so I went along with it. We roamed around on the playground for a bit when I noticed the guy in the white sedan got out of his car and walked towards us. My middle school brain is trying to rationalize that this can't be the same sedan that kept sitting outside and driving past my house, and maybe the guy was just watching his kid or something. I wish that were the case. I went over to the water fountain to grab a drink, and the guy comes up to me. "Hi there." Hi. You're Alicia, right?" My blood went ice cold. Yeah? Who are you?" He smiled at me, this really wide grin. "I'm John. I came to see you in person. You told me the town you lived in and how you wished we could meet." Listen, I gotta get back to my friends." No, why don't we go take a drive? We can go to McDonald's." He grabbed my arm at this point, and I think one of my friends had noticed because she came up to us, and the John guy released me and started to back up. "Hey Alicia, Mum said we gotta head home. Dad's home and he's had a long day." I nodded along and walked away with her. My whole group of friends crowded me as we headed back to my house. I never told my parents what happened that day, and none of my friends did either. None of us wanted our parents to keep an eye on the stuff we did on Snapchat, and we also thought that we'd get in trouble for what happened. When we got home, I blocked John and reported the account, thanking my friends for saving me. It's scary to think what could have happened if they hadn't been there, and I don't think the story would have a happy ending. This happened about a month ago, but I couldn't decide if I should share it or not. I'm kind of a paranoid person, and all these recent incidents have devastated my family. Anyway, here it is. I'm a 13-year-old girl from Bulgaria, studying in a boarding school. I went back to my parents' house for a Christmas vacation, so this happened a little after New Year's. My father is a cop, and the house is in a little village near a big town where I grew up. We moved in the village and we now live in a 2-story house. I was sitting one night in my room, drawing in my sketchbook and listening to some lofi beats. It was about 2 o'clock and I was immersed in drawing, not knowing that I would regret this day throughout my life. It started with me receiving a notification from Snapchat that someone added me. I was kind of confused, but still opened it and saw that someone with the username Husk8312 added me as a friend. Now, I would like to explain why this was weird to me. I don't use Snapchat anymore. I just have it on my phone for no reason at all. None of my friends use it since Instagram got the story thing, and we all started to use that instead. I have very little friends on Snapchat and none of them use it, so I didn't think that it was somebody I knew. And I don't have my location or Snap Map on that can give away my location and username to nearby people. I also didn't have my username written anywhere on my social media. Out of curiosity, I added the guy and opened their profile to see if they had a picture or something that could tell me who this was. There was nothing, only their Snapchat score, which was about 8. Thinking of it as some random guy, I got back to my artwork. As I was about to sharpen my pencil, I got a notification from Husk8312 that he sent me a snap. I opened it and it was a picture of grass taken with a flashlight. I looked at it confused and then went to the chat box to type, "What is this? Who are you?" Husk8312 received it, then it said that they read it, but they didn't respond. At this point I started to ask all my friends if it was one of them or if they had given my username to someone, but no one confessed. The next snap came in. It was a picture of what looked like a red tile. I was growing very impatient and once again I texted the person asking who he is and if we knew each other. They saw my message and didn't respond. The next snap came in and I was prepared to start screenshotting it to show my parents. It was a picture of what looked like to be a little knob, but I couldn't see what it was exactly. I instantly took a screenshot and went to look at the picture. In no time, I realized that this was a little closing mechanism in our backyard gazebo. At this point, I'm slowly realizing that this person is sending me Snapchats from my backyard. And by the way, it's not easy for someone to come to our backyard, as we have a very tall fence, and you have to take your time to scout the place out to find a possible way to climb the fence. And it was dark, so it would be very difficult. That to me meant that whoever this was, they have been looking around during the day to find a way to get in. I stood up from my desk and ran to my parents' bedroom to tell them about it. At first, they thought I was just being paranoid, but then I showed them the screenshots. They started to become concerned. My father took his gun and went out to check. It would have been a minute or two when I heard a loud gunshot. My mother ran outside and burst into tears. I instantly followed her just to find my dad unconscious, bleeding in the backyard door. My mother instantly called 911 and took my father to hospital. After that long, bloody night and a terrifying operation, doctors came to us and revealed that the bullet had damaged the spine of my father, and he won't ever be able to walk again. The intruder was never caught. On tracing the IP address of the phone from which the messages were sent, it was found to be a stolen phone and the police couldn't collect any further information about the attacker. My father is still in a wheelchair, and every time I see him, I just regret using Snapchat and adding that maniac. This incident is about the last time I ever used Snapchat. I was 19 when this happened. I was a lonely kid in school and I didn't have a lot of social interaction. It was the time when Snapchat was getting popular. Most of the cool guys in my class had installed it on their phones and in my never-ending urge to fit in, I too downloaded the app. At first, I added many of my classmates and tried to start a conversation with them, but no one was actually interested to talk to me. Eventually, I got bored of getting ignored, and the frequency of opening the app dropped down. It was a Saturday evening and I had nothing to do. I was watching some random YouTube video when a notification popped up saying someone has added me in Snapchat. Out of curiosity, I opened the app and realized it was a friend of mine when I was in middle school. To maintain his privacy, we will call him Alan. I texted, "Hi," and then the reply came instantly. He asked me if I remembered him, and then the nostalgic talks began. We used to talk for hours. For the first time in my life, someone was there who would not only listen to my stupid jokes, but also laugh at them. Everything was fine until that one day. So like always, Alan sent me a snap of him sitting in his living room saying he was home alone. Just when I was about to close the snap and type something, I noticed a figure standing behind the curtain of his window, inside his house. I immediately asked him to get out of the house and to go to his neighbours, but he asked why, and then I revealed the reason to him. After the longest 20 seconds of my life, he called me. He seemed really terrified and told me that he had run back to his room and locked the door. Shit! There is someone in my room already! This was the last thing I heard on that call, followed by a heart-wrenching shout of my friend, and the call was disconnected. I immediately called 911 and told them everything. They took Alan's address and asked me to keep calm and to try and call him again. Just when I was about to call Alan, a notification came up saying Alan posted a new story. I opened it with shaking hands, and I'm still terrified by what I saw. There were two masked men. One of them was pressing Alan against the ground and poking a sharp knife slowly into him, asking where were his parents and where all the money was hidden. He gave up the answer, and that ruthless bastard poked the whole knife into my friend's back, and he started laughing like a maniac. I was devastated by what I saw. I couldn't bear it and fainted. The next thing I remember is I woke up with my parents surrounding me. I was in my bed and a doctor was talking about something to my dad. I started asking about Alan and how he was. At first everyone tried to cool me down, but understanding I wouldn't do so, my mother told me the whole story. As police arrived at the house, they found Alan lying unconscious in his room in a pool of blood. He was instantly sent to the hospital, but despite every efforts of the doctor, he went into a coma and hasn't responded yet. I never felt worse in my life. Soon, everything started to become normal again. Well, I should say, pretended to become normal. My parents asked me to focus more on myself and the fact that I saved my friend from whatever worse thing could have happened, but nothing can make me feel any better about it. I'm turning 26 next month. It has been 7 years and my friend is still in a coma. I don't know if he will ever wake up, but if he does, I just want to hug him tight and tell him how much I miss him. Please pray for him to get up.